Alright, so this is our first section in our trig unit, and this is going to be the unit circle, and this is just going to be day one. We'll spend a couple days on this. So let's go ahead and get started right away, shall we? Let me just change this. Alright, so your objectives, things that you should be able to do by the end of this video or lesson. 1, you will be able to show that a point lies on the unit circle. 2, you will be able to find a missing value given information on a point that's on the unit circle. And last but not least, you will understand the relationship between radian and degree measure and how that relates to coordinates of points on the unit circle. Alright, so first, what is the unit circle? It is, of course, a circle that has a radius of 1 and it's centered at the point of origin right there. So if we were to draw it, it would look like that. Okay, not kind of like that, exactly like that. So the equation of this circle is x squared plus y squared equals 1, because that's of this specific circle. Our radius is 1, we have a center of 0, 0, so this is the equation that we use when we're talking about the unit circle. Okay, let's take a look at the first example. We need to show that point P, which is at root 3 over 2 and 1/2, is on the unit circle. This point is on the unit circle. It will have to satisfy our equation of the unit circle, which is, of course, right there, x squared plus y squared equals 1. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your points, plug them in for x and y. Pretty simple. So root 3 over 2 squared is 3/4. 1/2 squared is 1/4. 3/4 plus 1/4, does that equal 1? Yes, it does. So everything checks out. We showed that it was on the unit circle. Bada bing, bada boom, we are done. Alright, next one. We need to locate a point on the unit circle. Okay, and let's say we're told that this point is on the unit circle. So we know what it is, but we're only given one of the points. Okay, we need to figure out the other one. A couple things. 1, you're going to use the unit circle formula to figure it out. 2, you need to know what quadrant that point is in as well. So for example, if we have the point P, which is root 3 over 2, y, and it's on the unit circle in quadrant 4, and we need to find the y coordinate. Go ahead and plug what you know into the equation for a unit circle. So when we square root 3 over 2, we're going to get 3/4, which we would then subtract. So we subtract it from over here to get 1/4. Now, just a quick reminder about which quadrants are what. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully I shouldn't have to tell you what the signs of the points are in those quadrants, but that's just for your reference. Okay, so if y squared equals 1/4, y equals plus or minus 1/2. Now, so we have two possible answers. We have to narrow it down. Since we're told it's in quadrant 4, we know the y coordinate has to be negative. So y equals negative 1/2. Alright, so for example 2, I want you to read the problem, okay, and go ahead and take down and on your notes and try and do this on your own and then press play again and see if you got it right. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Alright, so if you did it and you're checking your answers, what you're coming back to, hopefully you set it up just like the last one. So we've got negative 7/25 squared plus y squared equals 1. So when you square negative 7/25, you get a positive 49 over 625, which you would then subtract from 1. So 1 minus 49 over 625 equals 576 over 625. So you have y squared equals that. So y would equal plus or minus 24 over 25. And again, we need to figure out the quadrant. So we're told it's quadrant 4. So is it positive or negative? Well, we did quadrant 4 before, so again, y has to be negative. So y equals negative 24 over 25. Okay, so last bit of information. So what are the radians and degree measures of the unit circle? Now, we all know that there's 360 degrees in a circle. And hopefully you know that for this particular circle, that its measure around would be 2 pi. But let's go ahead and let's just focus on quadrant 1 for right now. Now, while we won't be solving problems involving the unit circle in terms of degrees, so we're not going to use the degrees, it's just going to be helpful in helping you figure out radian measures until you know them by heart, which will happen. Okay, and then you're going to use those radian measures to figure out the coordinate points of the unit circle. We'll get to that later. That's the coordinate stuff that'll come in the next one. Alright, so let's just look at quadrant 1 like I said. Okay, so now we want to think of the unit circle in terms of degrees as well as radians. So in other words, if I was to draw, now this here, everyone should know that this is 90 degrees right here. So from here to here is 90 degrees. So if I was to draw in an angle here, that'd be 45 degrees. Okay, that could be 30. And 60 would be right there. Now there's a reason that I picked those, and that's something we'll also get into a little bit later because of right triangle trig. And again, this is a trig unit, so you might remember this from geometry. So think about how you would be able to tell the specific size of these types of triangles. But that's, again, just something to think about. For now, now, we know that an entire circle is 360 degrees. We also know that in terms of pi, an entire circle is 2 pi, the entire unit circle that is. Because circumference is 2 pi r, we have a radius of 1. So that basically gets rid of that, so we're left with just a 2 pi. So, of that, if we had 30 degrees of that 360 degree circle, how much of that would be, how much would it be in radians? Because this is what we call radians, anything with pi. So it'd be pi over 6, and there's a reason for that. So if you have this circle here, and all the way around is 2 pi. Half the circle, okay, half of the circle would be pi. 90 degrees, or 1/4 of the circle would be pi over 2. Alright, so you can imagine what pi over 2 divided by 2 looks like. It's pi over 4, so half of that 90 degrees is pi over 4. If you took 30 degrees, okay, 30 of the 90, that's basically 1/3, right, of pi over 2. 1/3 times pi over 2 is pi over 6. 60 degrees is 2/3, and so on and so forth. So you kind of get the idea. This is going to be something, all this over here, something that you have to know for the entire circle. You will get the hang of it, but as far as like learning it, here's kind of like a way that you can use this information in this table for the next problem. So like in example 3, what is a radian measure of a point 135 degrees clockwise around the circle? Well, here's how you can kind of set it up. So we're trying to find our radian measure. So we're trying to figure out what this top one is, with that top number. We do know that it's an entire unit circle, so we're going to use 360 and 2 pi because both of those represent an entire circle. We know the point's 135 degrees around, so we're going to use the cross multiply and divide to get x equals 270 pi over 360, which conveniently reduces to 3 pi over 4. Okay, which when you think about it, if this is pi over 2 and this is pi, then it would definitely make sense for 3 pi over 4, which is 135 degrees, to be right in between the two. So that's just one way to set it up. You're not going to see too many of these types of problems. It's just in the beginning that may be a useful way of being able to translate from degrees to radians. Alright, a couple of things that I'm going to be looking for in your notes. So keep this in mind. It may mean that you have to go back and redo this, and that's fine. One, all examples should be in your notes with all the work shown as well. So if it says like example 1, example 2, like here, example 3, this should be in your notes with all the work that I did, should be written out by you. 2, in addition to the examples, there should be notes with accompanying diagrams if there are any. 3, I will not, and I repeat, this is a big one, I will not accept screenshots of the videos in lieu of written notes. You may use screenshots for the examples, but only for the problem given and any diagrams given, not for the work that needs to be shown. In other words, you need to write this out. I don't care if it's on your iPad in Notability, but it needs to be written out. You can't take screenshots while the video is running and hand those in and expect those to be notes, because you will get 0 points for those. So that is it. This is how a lot of the year is going to go. So we may take a break from this now and again, but for the most part, this is what your homework is going to consist of. So good luck, have a good one, and see you tomorrow.